This is the Forat F16, which I got involved with, and I totally forgot about this piece, but I saw a picture of it and I go, yeah, I remember selling more than a few of these things, to the point where I had the owners of Forat. I think it was Ben and Bruce Forat. They were brothers, and they were out in L.A. They flew out to Philadelphia to talk to me about this. When I first started selling stuff to Jazzy Jeff, there was in 1988 when I met him and explained things to him, and then he caught on to the whole concept of how things worked. It's kind of the floodgates opened, and he was just buying everything. And I mean, he would run it through me first, but he would say, "George, I heard about this. Can you look into it?" And this was one of those pieces he asked me to look into. And what it is, it's 8 channels that you could trigger drum sounds or any kind of it's a sampler, but it was a 16-bit sampler, so it was higher resolution than most of the stuff that was out there. And you could put the sample in, and when you got the main unit, it was hard to trim it because you couldn't see anything. But if you bought the remote control had a display on it, and you could trim the beginnings and the ends, and then get the maximum amount of memory out of it. And we used it for triggering. We have drum samples on loops, and we would trigger it. And this was kind of a creative thing that we would do. We'd take a drum sample, a loop, run into the patch bay, and mult it out of the patch bay, and go through a bunch of drummers, the what do you call frequency dependent gates. So we could gate out the snare, we could gate out the toms or the kicks, and then route them to separate triggers and trigger them through this thing, and then re-record them. And this is all before Pro Tools and just doing it real easy today. But this thing, if you bought it in the basic form, it was like $5,200, and you load up the sounds with floppy disks. But if you really wanted the best system, you got the remote control, which was like another $1,300. And then you got an external hard drive, and you plug it in, had a SCSI port on the back of it. And through the remote control, you could navigate, pick the sound, load it in. And that was kind of the killer deal. I put a bunch of pictures up, and there's some specs on it and different angles of it, of the unit. But I found some pictures of somebody was selling one on Reverb, and they had Pacific Coast, I think it was Pacific Coast recorders, or it just back then. There was all these hard drive companies. There was a Glyph and Pacific, and there was a bunch of different ones. They all told you that they did all kind of proprietary stuff to the hard drive, but in retrospect, I don't think they really did anything. They just repackaged them and then, marked them up. I mean, Glyph, I used to have them come to the Pro Tools seminars I used to do, and I'd have them, do their spiel, show off what they were doing, and then I do, show off the Pro Tools. So I helped them out at the very beginning. They were a tiny company when they were first starting off. Now I think they're still in existence. If just people need drives now, you just buy them wherever you want. But the other thing, if you see in that picture, it has a SideQuest drive, and that was a removable hard drive, and that was pretty cool because you could have all your cartridges, and just pop it out, put a new cartridge in with all the other sounds. So, because hard drives were so expensive back then. But this was, so you would have 5,200, another 1,300, another hard drive. I mean, you're getting close to maybe close to 10 grand when you have everything said and done. But I sold a bunch of them, and that's what got the attention of the owners of the company that came out to talk to me about the unit and what else I needed to make them more marketable and more sellable. But I saw in the history they were in business until I think 2017. I think their website is still up. And if you look at their website, it's kind of funny because it looks like it was made in the 80s, or the 90s, wherever. But they were selling them. And in this day and age, you really don't need anything to trigger sounds. But back then, it was so important to have it trigger quickly, but Also, this unit, the quality of the sound was really great, because I know the Steely Dan guys use that Wendell Jr. to trigger sounds. I had the original. I don't know if I had the original. I had one from Walter Becker. I sold for him, but those guys used that thing to trigger a lot of sounds to make it the sound that they wanted on the spot that they wanted to be. But that's my little spiel about the Forat F16. I still see them for sale on Reverb and for around $3,000 or so. I don't know what you would use it for. It's funny because in the description of one of them, the guy said, I don't think I've used this thing in the last 20 years, but here you go. It works and it's great. But can you imagine with the floppy disks, you had 400K or 800K floppy disks and you had a load of sound in there. I mean, it would take you forever to switch sounds, but it did what it did, and it was something nothing else would do back then. So there you go.